continuing with the creature collage, my goal for this 15-minute demo, to try to get the antlers cleaned up and the head positioned onto my structure so that I know how to transition the head into the body with the neck. All right, so you can see using the magic wand, it can work pretty well, but then in some areas it just misses the boat. So then I use my lasso and I hold down the Option key to subtract from the selection, tighten it up in little chunks. I can also, where it's not so smooth, use Shift and add to the selection to cut in more. This gives me a nice guideline. And you can, as long as you're holding down Shift, you can do it in little chunks like this. The key to Photoshop is knowing how to really perfect your selections. Now, I'm not that concerned about these antlers because they're going to get, they're going to get covered up by leaves and foliage as well. But I'm trying to get a nice representation of their complexity. And I think you've seen so far in the demos, it's not always about using the coolest reference you can find. It's about using the reference that's appropriate to your sketch and to the anatomy. Like I had that piece of reference that just had the enormous antlers that were just the most amazing things, but it wasn't at the right angle, just didn't make sense. And that's how you know you really are transforming the reference you're finding, because you're fitting it to your own vision. You're not just a curator of other people's work. Okay, when you use the magic wand, sometimes you'll get little stray dots. So as I see those, they're easier to see when the selection's on. I try to just circle around those and get rid of them as well. Now this is a little bit easier than cutting out the fur around the face, simply because antlers and bone are a smoother texture, a little bit easier to use a clean edge with. But you still have to be mindful of the shapes and that everything flows correctly. A lot of antler here. All right, I think I'm safe in deleting that. All right. Command D to deselect. Let's try it again with the bottom here. Using the magic wand, holding down Shift. You see all that darkness is not going to work. So let me deselect. Let's just go in directly. Just take it away in chunks. It's intimidating to draw on the computer sometimes. But if you remember that you can always undo it if you need to, you learn not to try to do too much with one stroke. It's a lot like professional inking. If you've ever inked a piece of work, a drawing you really liked, you don't try to do too much too quick, because it's really, really easy to lose your work with just one slip. So you do everything in smaller chunks of confident movements. So for instance, I didn't get all of that. So now I'll go back in and just refine this top part. And you can see that the focus of this reference changed a little bit to those back antlers. This was a narrow aperture. Actually, a more open aperture, but a narrow depth of field. So that the antlers further back are in less focus than the ones at the front. But by cutting them out cleanly, I'm giving it the illusion of sharp focus. And when there's lots of holes in reference like this, all these little gaps and openings in the antlers, those are called undercuts. It just takes more time. Don't let it limit your ambitions in this assignment. All of it's good practice. Actually, come to think of it, some of this green might be helpful as I build foliage on top of it. So I probably shouldn't waste too much more time doing this, because it might get covered up. All right, but you get the idea of how to cut cleanly up. Now, let's do it to the part that we know matters more. Just a close shave first. Already lost a little bit of this antler. So I'll shave it a little bit more. All right, and then we want to clean up everything that's visible. Nothing that doesn't matter. Oh, that's tough. It's really just right on there, right on that edge. All right. So I'm going to use a small, not very hard, 100% eraser. Get right to this edge. Take off that hard edge. Now, even though I'm doing very detailed work here, I'm trying to focus on the overall picture. I'm just trying to get the head all worked out so I can bolt it to the rest of my structure. We work as basic and simple as we can out to being more, or down to being more detailed with time. Okay. Notice that that eraser gives me a slightly softer brush and softer edge than the lasso does. So I'm going to do a rough cut with the lasso and then go in with my eraser. Soften it and vary it just a little bit. Still at 100%. And then go to a lower opacity once that edge is softened. And knock it back just a little bit more at the lower opacity. Oh, too much. Command Z in your history, very helpful. If you want to go back more than one step without having to use your history, you use Option Command Z. You can use your space bar once you're zoomed in to kind of work around your piece. Get to different parts. But now that I'm removing, I want to go back to 100%. Kind of softly mimic the hair that's there. Now, the more confident you are in your stylus handling, the less zoomed in you need to be. And then it can go a little bit faster. So generally this is kind of what I do. I make a little channel of softness and then I use my lasso within that channel to get all the little debris that might be left. And then I hit it with a slightly bigger brush at a lower opacity. Until I'm happy with the edge. And for fur, it shouldn't look too smooth. Okay. And the last thing, I want to tighten that jaw a little bit. So now I'm actually going to use my eraser to cut away from the anatomy and reshape it to what I want. So I want it to be about like that. So I first do it with a slightly low opacity to get that soft edge. Now I use my lasso, work in the channel, get rid of all of it. Last step, I want to make the color of those antlers in that background kind of fit more with the warmth of this. So I go to Image, Adjustment, Color Balance, put more yellows in the midtones, a little bit more reds, a little bit more greens. See how that's helping already?